Now, welcome to our review of Dune Part 2, where we will start with some non-spoiler talk and then move into spoiler territory. And we will, of course, give you a warning before that happens if you haven't seen it yet. And so let's dive right in. What did you think of Dune Part 2?
Oh, I said I was going to let you go first because I have read the book and know source material and stuff, and you do not.
Okay. Well, if I got to go first, I will say it was epic. It is one of the coolest movie-going experience, theater-going experiences, I should say, I've had in maybe ever. Certainly in a very long time have I. It's been a long time since I felt the movie was this cinematic, this kind of scale.
I can agree with all that. The scaling was
Yeah.
huge. Everything looked big, which it
Yes.
needed to. I mean, you're portraying things that deserve to be shown big. This isn't. I mean, if you saw the first part, you understand. And this
It's
isn't a
bigger than the
small
first part.
story. This
No.
is a big story.
And they made it feel galactic, shall we say.
Yes.
And if this doesn't win the Oscar next year for best cinematography, then something is wrong with the Oscars.
Well, something's wrong with them anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just if you enjoyed the first one, or if you've been kind of like, maybe should I go and see this? It's just an incredible experience in the theater. It's long, but I would have taken longer because there were things that weren't exactly as clear as I would have wanted them to be, I guess.
There are a lot of nuances from the Dune universe that they just don't ever explain.
Yeah, there's a lot of... It jumps around sometimes pretty quickly, and you're like, well, weren't they just doing something else, and now they're over here doing this? And it's like... I feel like there was like a portion of the movie that was kind of just like skipped over. Or there were some times where you just feel like parts are missing.
I think they're missing the exposition as to why is spice so important.
I think they go over that a little in the first part, don't they?
Not to the extent of why it's as important as it is. I mean, there are things that happen in this movie that you're like, well, is it really that important? They don't give you the full scope of exactly how important this stuff is.
I guess you're supposed to infer that from...
Yes,
how
but
big of a deal
you
is it?
infer it is important, but you don't know
Well, yeah.
the
I get you.
details of why.
I get you. I think in terms of, say, acting and performances, like, this was incredible. Some of them are, again, Oscar-worthy, I would say.
Definitely. I
The
think
score?
all the actors were pretty spot on.
Yeah, the score was, kind of knock you out of your seat at times and then completely silent at other times. A lot of silence in this movie
But
again.
silence well used.
Yes.
Absolutely silence well used.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the dead silence. It was, we still have background noises because you really aren't ever going to take those away completely because then it's awkward. But this was well done with the sound, the visuals, the acting. Very, very well done.
Yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece. And without going spoiler territory yet, clearly I think there's going to be more of them. And I know there's more books, so...
Yes, there are a total of 6 original Dune books.
But this, again, I don't want to spoil. This is kind of teetering the line, I think. But it kind of ended in a way where I'm like, that's kind of more of a stop again than an end.
Exactly. Because they definitely give you the impression that there's more to come.
Yes.
That this isn't over yet.
Yeah, in some ways this felt like the first chapter of something much, much bigger.
Yes.
Which I know, again, there are more Dune books, both written by him and his son, I know has written some.
Yes, I think Frank Herbert wrote the original ones, and his son Brian took over and wrote some that takes place before, some that take place after. Yes, there's comic books that kind of adapt some of those works as well.
Isn't HBO doing a series about like the Bene Gesserits as well?
Yes, they do still plan on doing. I think they were calling it the Sisterhood of Dune originally. I don't know if that title is still the title or what.
I'm assuming that is actually canon to this Dune universe, because as we will discuss in the spoilers, it's not exactly canon to the books, per se.
Right, this is definitely... If you're a book purist for this, let's just say, you have to go in there and go, this is its own universe. Let me put it that way.
I've never read the books. I have. I've seen the original movie from the 80s. I've seen the sci-fi series from like 20 years ago.
Yeah, the sci-fi series from 20 years ago actually follows the book very closely.
Yeah, because
it's the closest one out there.
Yeah, because there were times I'm watching, I'm like, well, I remember that series pretty well, and that surely isn't what the series did with this story. But no, I can't speak for people who love the books, and I, of course, as a Star Wars fan and other fans who've complained about books not always being beholden to, or canon not being beholden to, I will understand if you don't like the movie, but from a person who's never read the books, I thought it was phenomenal. It was... I had expected big things because I've heard big things, and it met, if not exceeded, any expectation I had.
A lot of things just looked on point.
Yeah, it's that good, and it deserves to be seen on the biggest screen you can see it on. All right, so should we dive into some more spoilery talk?
Yeah, let's move into spoilers. So, we were talking a little bit about the differences between the original novel and this adaptation. And honestly, because of that, it turned me off a little bit.
Wow.
There were some, huge plot points that were missing.
Well,
they changed Chiani's character.
Yeah, I noticed 100%.
That.
Because that was the first thing I asked you as we're walking out of the theater. I'm like, was she different? Because there wasn't like this. It's almost like they wanted to set up this kind of like this love triangle at the end of the movie. Like where the princess was going to be jealous of her and she was going to be jealous. And I know in I think it's the sci-fi series, they make it very clear like that Chiani is, that she's like cool with this. She understands what he needs to do and she's not like all jealous and upset about it.
They also did, in the sci-fi series and in the book, there's a big speech that both Paul and his mother give, kind of telling Chiani that the princess is going to get no love. She's not, from him. She's not fathering any children. She might be named wife, but that history will remember these concubines as wives. Because remember, Lady Jessica was also just a concubine. But history, of course, would remember both Chiani and Jessica as the wives, not the other way around.
Yeah. That I found kind of strange because like I said, I knew that one from that was in the books and I've seen it in the series. So,
well, they also the time frame they sped up entirely. There's years that he's in the desert with the Fremen.
That was kind of what I was
literally
saying.
Years because Chiani has one of his children.
Yeah, that I thought.
And then the Harkonnens find Lady Jessica's daughter, which I can never pronounce her name right. It's Ali. Ali.
Yeah, I thought that was.
I'm gonna call her Allie.
I thought that her child or his sister, Paul's sister, was born in this already.
Yeah, she should be born. And when the Harkonnens invade the siege that Paul's child is at and his sister, his son is killed by the Harkonnens, and his sister is actually taken prisoner. She's the one who kills the Baron.
That's right.
She assassinates him with the Atreides, their Ganjabar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I knew. I was like, I'm losing my mind here because I'm like, there's things in here that are not
lining up. They
accelerated.
I mean, you think about she was already pregnant in the desert at the end of part 1, and she has not given birth yet at the end of part 2. Whereas in the original source material, the novel, and both the sci-fi series, daughter was already born and 3-4 years old by the time the end happened, implying how long it took him to kind of work with the Fremen. And also he was unconscious for 2 or 3 weeks in the book when he drank the water.
Okay.
And yes, Chani did save him, kind of bring him out of it. And also there wasn't the animosity between...
Yeah, she was so mad at him.
No, there was the animosity all over the place that shouldn't have been. There's no animosity between
the Fremens?
Paul and his mother in the book.
Another thing that was, and maybe you can clarify, yes, animosity, you're right, I didn't remember that from the other stories either, but yeah, because do you almost feel like they're separate, like the mother or Jessica and Paul are just estranged.
Right,
They've
because
never almost talked to each other.
He sees her as pushing them towards this holy war that he doesn't want. But in actuality, the reason he drank the waters in the book was because when he finds Gurney is under the impression, because obviously he was never told, he was under the impression that the traitor, the one that got the Atreides household destroyed, was Jessica. He tried to assassinate her under the thought that she was the reason that the Duke was dead, that the house fell.
Okay, well
and he tried to kill her, and Paul didn't see it coming. So Paul kind of freaked out, I didn't see this, my visions didn't show me this, I'm not seeing enough.
Okay.
And he drank the waters because he knew he needed to see more.
Yeah.
There was no animosity of her going, you have to drink it, we have to take advantage of it. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And Chiani was always on his side. There wasn't this, no, you're not going to lead the Fremen the right way. The Fremen were all kind of united zealots.
Yeah, that was another thing. The North and the South were the North were kind of I don't know about breaking from tradition is the right way to put it, but they weren't as zealots, right?
Right.
Whereas the South were hardcore, we're all about the prophecy and the Messiah kind of coming back thing.
Right. So that's kind of something they changed. It's like there's that word that it comes to your mind anytime you think of what female empowerment these days. That W word that I don't even want to edit.
Word?
And edit into this video, or you know the word.
I don't know the W word now.
It starts with a W and ends with oak.
Oh, that word.
Yeah, that word. Because they really pushed this version of Chani. This, I'm empowered, this isn't how we're leading my people, I don't want you taking over our my people, we aren't doing this for you. All about, Team Fremen. In the book, this isn't how that worked out. She understood that Paul was still, Team Fremen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was curious about that. I felt like a lot of animosity sprinkled in there in different places where I didn't remember it from before.
I mean, did they just want to make her look like a stronger character and not just another follower? But it's weird. They also totally left out Jameis's wife.
Jameis's wife?
Yeah. In Fremen culture, because Paul killed...
Oh, yeah, I think
Jameis,
you told me about this before.
Yeah, then Jameis's wife and son became, his. He kind of used her as a maid, though, instead of his wife, even though she was like, I'm your wife, and he was like, you're not my wife. And his son, Jameis's son, looked up to him as, a father, even though he was still relatively
that
young.
Would be rough to, you killed my dad, but now you're my new dad.
Yeah. There were some interesting things in Fremen culture, but they left that out in favor of let's just go with some animosity story. Like I said, if you keep it separate from the book, on its own, it stands really well. But me knowing the book kind of sees these inconsistencies and goes, well, I didn't think anything was wrong with the first material. But again, it's because I read that first.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were interesting ideas and themes they're trying to go for, but kind of like prophecy and what brings about prophecy.
Right, I mean, they kept coming into the fact that you only believe this because they told us to believe this.
Yes.
She can, look, she's not really special because she can change the water. She's a Bene Gesserit. She was trained how to do this. She knows how to do this. So they decided to really lean into the whole prophecy thing being a sham, which, it is kind of a sham.
Well, yeah, because they were really, with the whole Bene Gesserit's kind of just setting the whole thing up, and that it was really just about the bloodline and nothing like prophecy per se, as much as just engineering, But
at the same time, we have to remember Jessica broke the chain of engineering. She was not supposed to have a son. She was supposed to help them get closer. She was supposed to have a daughter that would one day marry a Harkonnen.
Okay.
Because they were continuing the weird breeding program.
Yeah, well, she's a... Yeah, that would be strange.
Yeah.
Because she is a Harkonnen.
But that's how they breed.
Okay.
The Bene Gesserits collect material, as you saw, which is they're setting up that for the future, too. The future of the Harkonnens has already been conceived.
Yes. Yeah. Was that in the book?
Yeah, they collected his sample.
Okay. That's how we're going to word it? All right.
That's how the Bene Gesserit would have put it.
Okay.
They also never mentioned, like I said, the importance of spice. Not exactly how important it is. We don't see the Spacers Guild at all.
We did a little, I thought.
I'm actually not sure if those were the Spacers Guild anymore. I think they were just people. Because the Spacers Guild, what they do is they are in charge of navigating the universe.
Yeah.
And because of the properties of the spice and what it does to people, it turns your brain into, it hardwires you as a human computer. And the Spacers, through breeding and training and copious amounts of spice, their brains work in a way that they can actually navigate the entire universe inside their head. Okay. They do all of the computations for all hyperspace travel. Without them, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, which is why the spice is important.
Yes.
It's hard to run an empire if you can't get from place to place.
Also extends you living beyond your natural lifespan.
Okay.
Which is one reason why the Emperor finds it important.
Yeah.
Spice is what kind of helps with the Bene Gesserit powers.
See, I never knew that one.
It's kind of again, in the breeding and the training and... Yeah, there's a little bit of spice here and there, because everyone does spice. But there's a lot through the training. And Mentats as well. The fact that their brains work like computers. They all had to do this also because in the past, there was the great, AI war.
Yeah.
And they fought the computers.
Which is our future, yeah.
Yes. We've talked about this. Our future is Dune's past.
Yes, it's kind of scary how accurate Dune may have been.
They also had a lot of guns, which I don't really think they used a lot of guns in type things. I was like, where are all of a sudden there's guns? I don't know.
Guns are cool.
Okay.
Or something. Laser guns, I mean.
If you want a source though that's much closer in context to the books, you want to find the mini series from the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah, they called it just Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yeah.
It was 3-hour-long episodes or something.
And then there was the Children of Dune, right?
Yep, they did the Children of Dune. Well. It combines the books Dune Messiah and Children of Dune.
Okay.
So I recommend those if you're more of a book purist. It's hard for me to say if I like it, how, to quantify what I like about it because of the fact that I came from the book first.
No, I gotta read the book. Can't believe I haven't read it already. But
yeah, slacker.
I know, my bad.
Do you want to get into the hammer scale?
Sure, this is gonna be interesting.
It's hard because I have to separate things. Go for it, you're first.
I think you've impacted me a little bit by telling me what is different. But I'm gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
Or something.
Think of it on its own.
Oh man. I wanna go 9.5 hammers. It's that good.
I think if I can separate, the book from the new movie, I will give the movie 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5.
Okay.
If I remember the fact that I know the books and how epic the books are,
yep,
I would probably give it a 5.
Wow.
The changes are very
that's fair.
heavy.
That's fair. I've certainly not...
they've deleted characters. The fact
fair.
that they didn't have his son and then kill his son is such a huge plot point. The fact that they condensed what was years of training with the Fremen to months of training with the Fremen.
That's what I said. I felt like
his sister wasn't even born.
I felt like we were missing parts or things were accelerated. I sometimes felt like the timing was a little weird in this, but not enough to really affect me.
Well, yeah, because you weren't exactly sure what we were missing.
Well, like I said, I was pretty sure like his sister was born and he had a child. And
well,
all
he
these
had
other things.
and lost a child.
Yeah, so that was confusing.
That was really hard for him and Shani.
Well, hard for anybody, right?
Well, yeah. But he's off leading a war, and he loses his child. That's
yeah. All right. Well, not a upbeat note. That is all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of Dune Part 2. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And if so, was that because you read the books and you didn't think it lined up well? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Dune. And until next time, thanks for watching.